You're listening to I'm Not Dumb, But, the podcast where we answer the questions you're too smart to ask. Follow along as we try to make sense of topics that might be mainstream, but not common knowledge. I'm Rob, your host today, joined by Caesar.
Hello.
Victor.
What up?
So today we ask, can I get a drum roll, please? I'm not dumb, but what's a carcinogen?
Isn't that like a Roman soldier?
A carcinogen?
Yeah, carcinogen.
Corinthian.
Corinthian. Oh, shit.
We don't want to offend any of our Roman soldiers out there.
We already lost China.
Isn't that in the Bible? Carcinogens 2:16.
Yeah, they usually read it at weddings.
At weddings, yeah. Now from the Holy Book, Carcinogens 3:83.
Followed by Psalms. So, in a recent article by Reuters, the World Health Organization, or Cancer Research Agency, is set to say that aspartame sweetener is a possible carcinogen.
It's used in everything from diet sodas to chewing gum. Now, artificial sweetener aspartame could be labelled a possible cancer risk. Reuters sources say the International Agency for Research on Cancer, an arm of the World Health Organization, will make the move next month. It will list aspartame as possibly carcinogenic to humans. The ruling is based on all published evidence and is meant to spur more research into the product. It doesn't take into account how much a person can consume before facing a heightened risk. The news has drawn a furious response from drinks makers. The International Sweeteners Association said the IARC was acting on widely discredited research. Aspartame has been investigated for years. One French study showed slightly increased cancer risks in people who consumed a lot of the sweetener, but the results have been disputed and the product remains widely used.
So, aspartame, a possible carcinogen. You guys ever heard of aspartame? You know what it is? I usually always saw it in like everything.
Isn't that the thing everyone says is not good for you? Because it's in like in Diet Coke and shit, right? Or Diet Pepsi. I don't know.
It's a sweetener, right?
Diet. Yeah, it's a
low-calorie sweetener, right?
Yeah, low-calorie sweetener. I remember I used to see it in a lot of like NO Explode and all those like pre-workouts, and I would just see aspartame. Like, what the hell is this?
Then it's definitely healthy for you. If it's in NO Explode, I'm good with it.
This is shit. It's shit, but it's very healthy.
Yeah, so I was doing a little bit of research, and then we'll go into it. So I'll talk about aspartame, but then we'll talk about it being a carcinogen, a possible carcinogen, and what that actually means, because I didn't realize that it goes down a really, really weird gray area rabbit hole as far as what carcinogens are.
Huh.
But it was kind of fun.
Is it one of those things where it's like, it's cancerous only in California?
Yeah. It's like a Prop 65 or whatever that...
Yeah, whatever
I don't even know.
Are they just more healthier than us? Is that what it is?
Yeah, look
Everything's
at them.
healthier there, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
The sun is healthier
Their
there.
threshold is lower for all these banned substances?
Well, the thresholds for aspartame are lower in America than it is in Europe. So, because they have different like governing agencies, but we can also talk about that too. Not going to go too much into it because you could do an entire episode on the FDA apparently. Yeah, so aspartame, just a real quick history on it. So it was discovered in 1965 by James Shatler, and basically exactly what you said. It's a sweetener. It's 200 times sweeter than regular table sugar.
200 times?
Yeah, the reason behind this is they're able to use less aspartame, so it's less calories in these diet drinks, so they don't have to use as much sweetener. Aspartame is an artificial sweetener sold under brand names such as NutraSweet and Equal. You ever had Equal? That's the blue one, right?
Yeah.
Is that the yellow one?
What's the yellow? Splenda.
Splenda is also...
But they use something else, I think.
When I was a kid, I used to put extra sugar in my cereal because I was a fucking maniac.
Yeah.
And I remember I went on a school trip one day, one of those like camp trips. and they didn't have sugar packets. I couldn't find sugar packets, so I was dumping Equal and all that shit in there.
Oh my, that sounds disgusting.
Oh my god, it was delicious.
What cereal were you eating?
That's Frosted Flakes.
Yeah, probably Frosted Flakes, probably something crazy. I don't know.
Frosted
I would
Flakes
just
are
put
amazing.
sugar into all my cereal, and then you wait till the end, and it's all on the
Oh
bottom.
yes, you drink that milk.
You get to scoop up the sugar that didn't get absorbed into the milk. Oh my god.
Then your
Like
stomach hurts later.
I used to do just a Marshmallows Lucky Charms cereal, and later on I realized exactly what I was eating. I was just drinking sugar.
That's why
milk.
there's holes in my stomach.
Yeah, that's why I'm drinking Metamucil 4 times a week.
But there's also sugar in that.
You can't win as long as it's not aspartame. Apparently,
I don't know which one it is, but one of them has the one that says no added sugar has a sweetener in it.
yeah, I think it has aspartame. I gotta look at it. I don't know.
I use the one with real sugar.
I use real sugar now.
I use the real sugar Metamucil, which is harder to find.
You use that brown sugar.
No, it's in the
You use it?
Metamucil.
Oh,
The organic sugar cane, the brown one.
and that brown
Oh,
sugar,
I saw
man.
that. There's one with stevia. I just bought
Stevia,
it.
stevia plant or whatever it is.
There's
Wait,
a
is it
Metamucil.
stevia or stevia? I don't know. I'm asking.
I don't know.
I've been saying stevia my entire life.
I said stevia.
It doesn't matter.
Now I feel uncultured. Anyway, yeah, if they have an IV form of PNG, if you can create an IV form of Metamucil, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, we could use that. We could use that.
Yeah.
There's not enough fiber in my diet. So yeah, that's the whole idea. Because it is much sweeter, you get to use less of it, and that's why a lot of the diet companies dump this in their drinks. So they're able to make a sugary beverage very low calorie. So that's the whole idea here. Aspartame is an artificial sweetener, and it is used in since the 1980s. It's in diet drinks, chewing gum, gelatin, ice cream, dairy products. I was just looking at some of the yogurt when I was doing research for this. I was in the supermarket. Tons of these yogurt companies have aspartame in their yogurt, and
Even Greek yogurt?
not so much Greek. But if you get stuff that is like the Light and Fit or
Dan and Fit.
Dan and
get
Fit,
Dan.
right?
Oh my
like the
God.
ones that, but they're like the fruit and the whatever. Like
So much sugar.
yeah, so much sugar in them. The Greek yogurts that I get, there's nothing really in them. It's just like
Anything
whatever it
with
is.
fruit, I feel any yogurt with like fruit in it.
But
I always
not
feel
all
says-
of them. There
No?
was one.
Chobani's are pretty good. They have fruit at the bottom. They have like a little bit of fruit, and they're straight up Greek yogurt.
Yeah, because there was one I forgot. I think it might have been Chobani. There's one that had fruit, and there was no aspartame in it. So not all of them are doing it.
I've been getting the Sigis. Was that Sigis, the Icelandic
Siggies,
one?
the Icelandic.
Yeah,
Sigis?
that one.
Never heard of it.
You never heard of it? It's like one of the best high protein yogurts out there.
It's high protein. What are your thoughts of
I
it?
can't do it. Can't do high
I mean,
protein
it's-
yogurt.
That's why I'm eating yogurt. No.
I don't mess with Siggies. First of all, really expensive.
Yes.
And the container is always smaller than every other container there. Like, make it look the same size.
Oh, I see yours.
Yeah,
They
I
actually
can't.
have 2 different containers for different yogurts. One is smaller, and the other one is like a normal looking one.
That's too much. That's too good for me. I can't. I'm still.
It
on
is
that.
expensive, though. It is expensive.
I'm on that Axelrod, whatever it is. I can't get up to the Siggies yet. Yeah, and it's in chewable vitamins apparently now too. So like these Flintstones
Like the
vitamins.
gummies.
But yeah,
The gummies?
the gummies. Yeah, some of them have aspartame in it, and cough drops. Not all cough drops, but some cough drops.
The cough drops with aspartame in it, the ones with that say no sugar, those taste like shit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which one?
It just says no, like Halls has it, but they have like Halls no added sugar or no sugar. Those ones
Yeah.
taste like garbage. You want the ones with sugar. They taste better.
Because it might not make you healthy, but at least you're gonna.
Listen,
At
you're
least it
already
tastes
sick.
good.
You're already sick. So
There's
what do you?
It's interesting because at the end we'll talk about like these artificial sweeteners, but I didn't want to make it a whole artificial sweetener like episode. But there's a lot of merit to, even if it's not a carcinogen or it's not bad, it's probably better to just go with the regular sugar, just because of what the artificial sweeteners do to your stomach. Apparently, just touching on the research, I was like, oh, okay, I'd rather just mess with. I'd rather have the calories than put whatever this stuff is in my body.
So just quickly, it's artificial. It's the artificial sweetener because your body can't digest it, right? That's the whole thing of it. That's why it's low calorie.
I
Right?
think they created it. They created it out of two regular compounds, and it breaks down into regular compounds that don't really hurt you. But I think it's not found in nature. I think it was developed, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Because I think it just breaks down into these two byproducts that apparently aren't bad for you. But it was created so. And yeah, it was created in 1965 by a chemist, James Flatter. So thank him for it.
Thank you, James. You my boy.
Yeah, so they put this stuff in everything. It is found in everything. When I was in the supermarket, I could see it everywhere.
Were you walking around grabbing bottles and just like, aspartame, aspartame?
Yeah, I just flipped everything over. Anything that had like sugar in it, I was just like looking like, does this have aspartame? Does this have aspartame? Yeah.
What about bread? Does bread have aspartame on it?
No, I didn't see any of that aspartame in it.
He gets to the cashier. She's aspartame. It's everywhere.
It's for research.
He takes out his wallet. Aspartame everywhere, just pouring out of his credit cards.
I just bounced. I just freaked out.
He just screamed and ran out of the supermarket.
Everywhere.
It's before we begin, I just want to talk about like who the important players are here, like who is saying that this is a carcinogen. Okay, so the IARC, that's what they were saying. What Reuters was saying, which by the way I never even knew it was Reuters. I always saying Reuters, but it's Reuters. So the International Agency for Research on Cancer is the IARC, and it's an intergovernment agency, and it's under WHO, or the World Health Organization.
Who?
And they're under the UN. So UN,
and they're owned by China.
And they're owned by China. Well, that's what I mean. We all know that. But so China, United Nations, World Health Organization, and then the IARC. Okay. That's one major independent agency that is looking at cancer. Another one that America tends to use, and this is from the American Cancer Society's website. Another one they use is the National Toxicology Program, NTP. Ever heard of that, Caesar?
Actually, I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
No.
So the National Toxicology Program is an interagency program run by the United States Department of Health and Human Services. So they evaluate and report toxicology for public agencies. So there's the IARC, which is a big one, and the NTP. For United States, we kind of look at both. In this article, and what they were talking about is what IARC's ruling is on aspartame, not what NTP's or the National Toxicology Program it does. So they kind of do the same thing, but just one is under international and one is like American. Now, the thing is, when you have these two agencies, they will basically do the same thing. They will evaluate items and see if they're a carcinogen or if they have a hazard to be a carcinogen and if they do cause cancer. What is a carcinogen? A substance capable of causing cancer in living tissue. That is straight from Oxford Dictionary.
Boom.
Yep, straight from it.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Did you get into who funds these organizations?
No.
Because that's the biggie, bro.
Yeah.
To be honest, since we started this, in any topic, any organization, any agency, gotta follow the money. Have to follow the money.
It was funny though, because I was trying to see, they don't actually do the research either. They hire a group, and they literally just call it advisory group. We hire advisory group to do this. I could not really find a lot of information on advisory group. Try just Googling advisory group. Ain't gonna happen. I did find an article and on the NIH website, and all they said was it's like 29 scientists from 18 countries. And that was the most I could find on advisory group. And I guess they contract them out or they have like an agreement with them for a certain amount of time period, then they might change them. So my understanding, or what I was thinking, was that these advisory groups are probably like one of our older episodes, just like certain think tanks that might have scientists and stuff like that. And we already know where think tanks go.
Yeah, most likely they're just independent scientists that kind of have their own research, and then they just get together to do all these multinational studies.
And yeah, I mean, this is why I kind of wanted you on here, because, I mean, you are a doctor of love, and we know that, and we know that you're a subject matter expert on this. So we wanted to kind of get your input on cancer and what you know about it. But before we begin, I just wanted to talk about a few things with the Cancer Society, American Cancer Society, and this is from their website. So they say that the IARC and the NTP, they act independently of each other. So many known or suspected carcinogens may appear on each organization's list. However, a substance or exposure is only on one agency's list doesn't mean that it's not cancerous. It just means that one agency studied it and the next one maybe just never got around to it. So that's the whole thing. So one agency might say that this item or this agent, they call it, is a carcinogen, and they might label it as such, and the other one might label it as such, or they might not label it at all because they never got around to studying it. So you have two different lists, and they act independently. So that's always kind of weird. And I think that's why the American Cancer Society and some of these other cancer institutions, they use both lists, the IARCs and the NTPs, because I guess it's just better. These lists are alphabetical, but many of the substances and exposures here can go by different names. So I guess carcinogen can have different names or different types. So you could have it on one list and have it on the other agency's list, but in different names. So that was kind of odd. I went through them. Half of them are just like uneven readable, just like straight up crazy compounds. But I did write down some of the ones that we know and that you'll run into in like layman's terms. And it was pretty interesting. And when we go through the list, we'll see like the groupings of each one, which I thought was pretty fun. And then, these lists include only those agents that have been evaluated by the agencies. So, and that's really what it is. And it's not just agents. It's like any type of thing. It can be a chemical compound that was created. It could be a natural resources, or it can be an activity. So some jobs and some exposure activities are actually, quote unquote, carcinogenic. So it's not just like, plutonium will give you cancer. It's like, something totally different. So we have two major agencies right now, and each one has their own list, and each list could be different, and a lot of them are kind of the same. So a carcinogen is, a substance that can cause cancer in living tissue, and that's basically what we're looking at here. So NTP's list, the National Toxicology Program's list, it's just two distinct areas. There's known to be human carcinogens and reasonable anticipated to be human carcinogens. Just two. We're not going to go into that because it's a much shorter list, and the article that we're talking about only talks about the IARC, but we just know that the NTP basically just has two, one or the other. And they don't have as many agents on their list as the IARC. Now, the IARC has 4 groupings, and this is the one that we tend to mostly see a lot. So when they were talking about this possibly carcinogenic, they weren't just saying possibly carcinogenic. That's actually a grouping, is possibly carcinogenic. And then there's a probably, and there's a, it's very, very weird and not straightforward at all.
That don't make no sense.
So if we look at the 4 groups for the IARC, right, we're going to look at group number 1, which obviously would probably be, the most group. So carcinogenic to humans, group 1. There's like 100. There's 126 known evaluated agents in IARC's Group 1, and this would be akin to NTP's just one grouping, their number one grouping. So this category is used when there is sufficient evidence of carcinogenicity in humans. So that's pretty good. In other words, there is convincing evidence that this agent causes cancer in humans. That's a Group 1.
So they did a bunch of experiments, and they were like, yeah, this shit causes cancer.
Yeah. Or there was a bunch of exposure, and then they were able to study that long-term exposure, and they were like, yeah, this is pretty bad. So the evaluation is usually based on the results of epidemiological studies showing development of cancer in exposed humans, and evidence of carcinogenicity in humans is less than sufficient, but there is sufficient evidence of carcinogenicity in experimental animals and strong evidence in exposed humans. So what kind of items do you think is in Group 1?
Asbestos?
Yeah,
Asbestos?
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Asbestos definitely is in there. Arsenic?
Arsenic?
Yeah, we got...
Lead? Is lead in there?
Yeah, I think lead is in there, yep. So I'll just go through some of the examples because a lot of them were compounds and I couldn't even understand half of them. So examples: arsenic, asbestos, firefighter workplace exposure, engine exhaust, formaldehyde,
I can see that.
Leather dust,
Yes.
processed meat, tobacco, smoke, and smokeless, vinyl chloride, thank you, Norfolk Southern, wood dust, gamma radiation, and UV light.
I don't believe that gamma radiation.
Yeah, gamma
Well, we
radiation.
know gamma radiation is bullshit. I know,
It
because
turns you into the Hulk. if you get
Exactly.
enough of
That's
it.
I'll take that any day.
Everyone knows that. It takes out your anger, comes out.
And it doesn't change your pants. See, he rips his shirt, but the pants stay the same.
Well, the pants get ripped, but just not around the crotch area, which is, it's...
It might be an issue in
conservative
itself.
Hulk. He's a conservative Hulk. He doesn't want to be all out there, flashing his stuff.
The waist. The waist never changes.
No one wants a big green cock running around.
Well, that's true. Never thought of that. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to scare people. We want to help them.
That'd be rude.
Yeah.
Indecent exposure from the Hulk.
So that's group 1. I mean, would you agree with all those types of things? I mean,
Sure.
it's pretty...
As
yeah.
a scientist, yes.
I'm something of a scientist myself.
I made a volcano once when I was a kid. I'm now a scientist.
Baking soda... What is it? Baking soda peroxide? I don't even know. What do
Or
you put
vinegar,
together?
right? Vinegar, baking soda, or hydrogen.
I never made
peroxide.
that.
Oh, bleach
You never
and
made
ammonia.
that?
No, I
yeah,
never made
go
it.
home. No, go home and just take
Yeah.
a tub and pour bleach
just
and ammonia.
Make sure the doors are closed, right?
That's how you get things extra clean.
Yeah, and close all your windows because
Close all
it'll
the
just
doors.
kill all the COVID in your house.
99% of germs and you.
99% of living tissue will die.
99.9.
Better than Lysol.
Listen, you want to get clean or not?
Oh, no.
All right, so that is carcinogenic to humans, group 1. All right, cool. So now we have group 2, probably carcinogenic to humans. This is literally the grouping's name, probably carcinogenic to humans. And they call this group 2A. So there's 3 groups, but this one's 2A.
So this is the group that it probably causes cancer, but our donors say it doesn't.
Yeah, those cigarettes cause cancer.
Yeah.
Ours are toasted. Exactly. So this category is used when there is limited evidence of carcinogenicity in humans and either sufficient evidence of carcinogenicity in experimental animals. And limited evidence of carcinogenicity means that a positive association has been observed between the exposure of the agent and cancer, but that other explanations for the observations, technically termed chance or bias or co-founding, could not be ruled out. So probably causes cancer. That's group 2. So there's about 94 agents that they've studied that go into probably. And some of the examples of that are androgenetic steroids, glyphosate,
Oh, glyphosate.
A little roundup action for you.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
They got sued for.
But it's probably.
It's probably, but they got sued big time.
Yeah, what was it?
They're still fighting
Because
it.
Bayer Monsanto will have none of that.
Yeah. Because they're
That's right.
One of the defendants of that, right? He used to spray it on the field, and now he has tumors all over his body.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so his family's
that sounds
fighting.
terrible.
This was maybe 2 years ago, before COVID.
They were talking about like potatoes that from McDonald's, and they're like, there's a chemical that they need to put on it that they can't go out into the field for 6 days because they put this chemical on the potatoes that they sell to McDonald's.
Oh my God. I hate hearing that because McDonald's fries are so good.
I haven't had them in a long time. But yeah,
They have to then quarantine the potatoes for like another week because they can't be exposed to it. Like they have to let the chemical air out.
Can't you just wear a mask?
Apparently, like they do. Like they look like they're in full fucking chemical spill gear if they need to go near these things.
It's okay. Once it rains, all these compounds are going to be in the soil anyway.
They're in the groundwater.
Yeah, we're all fucked anyway.
Yeah, that's kind of where all this comes from, right? Just throw a little fluoride in there. And just like everybody else. All right, so examples of probably carcinogenic. Androgenetic steroids, glyphosate, hairdresser or barber workplace exposure, night shift work.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Hot beverages above 65 degrees Celsius or 149 degrees Fahrenheit. So basically, if you're making green tea and you drink it above that, boiling water. Very hot beverages above boiling water are probably carcinogenic to humans. A bunch of other compounds that I couldn't find.
Did it go into what kind of night shift work?
No, just night shift work.
Truckers tend to have a higher rate of bladder cancer, and that's
because they're holding their piss constantly.
I don't think so, but long ago.
I went to the doctor once.
Bro, you got to go back, man.
He asked me these questions. He's like, "What do you kind of do?" And I was like, "Well, I work nights." He goes, "That is the worst thing you can do to your body is work at night."
Did he say why?
I think it's because it interrupts your normal sleep pattern or a human's normal sleep pattern. So it just you shave years off your life working nights, and just by working nights because your sleep is fucking so far.
Yeah, I mean, I always felt like shit after working nights, especially an overnight. Like I didn't mind like a 3 to 11, but an overnight, oof.
Well, supposedly that's when
rough.
your body destroys gets rid of all the toxin and does all its cellular regeneration. So maybe it has something to do with that. You're not letting your body heal.
Yeah, you're not letting it heal for the day.
It's not me. It's the American workforce.
Capitalism.
Well, get out there and work harder.
Yeah.
I'm just not working hard enough.
Pick yourself up by your bootstraps or something like that.
You got insurance. This is why you're never going to own a house. So, all right. So the third group is possibly carcinogenic to humans, and this is group 2B. So this is limited evidence of carcinogenicity in humans and sufficient evidence of carcinogenicity in experimental animals. This is where aspartame falls in the IARC's grouping. So not group 1, not group 2A. It's in group 2B where it's possibly carcinogenic and there's limited evidence of carcinogenicity in humans. And this is basically what that article was saying, was that there was 2 studies that had come out by like some French research and I think an Italian one. And there was some evidence, limited evidence, that aspartame caused certain types of cancers. So when that came up, some of these advisory groups pitched to the IARC and they said, hey, in the next round, why don't we focus and look at aspartame and relook at it? Which they had looked at it for a lot of years, and then they really looked at it now, and then they came out with their statement last week actually about it. So possibly carcinogenic. So where does aspartame fall in the same hazard category. So some of the examples of possibly carcinogenic to humans is aloe vera extract.
Bullshit.
Don't put it on your skin, bro.
Don't believe it.
Don't
Where
put
else
it
are
on
you
your
supposed to put
skin.
it? Where
Yeah.
else are you supposed
Don't
to
put it in your drink. Don't put it in
Okay.
your skin.
Is that how it works? Oh, I've been doing it wrong this whole time.
Yeah, what have you been rubbing it on you?
Yeah, I've been rubbing it on me. I didn't know I was supposed to drink it.
Are you reading the instructions?
No.
Yeah, it says to rub it on you. Do not put it in your drink. Don't eat it. So aloe vera extract is possibly a carcinogen. Carpentry, possibly a carcinogen.
Well, that's
marine
definitely-
diesel. Yeah,
Because of the
marine diesel. What?
Because of the dust?
Yeah, because of all the dust. Yeah.
Marine diesel is possibly?
Yeah, marine diesel.
No, that has to be a definite.
It's listen, this is what the IARC is saying, okay? It's
Oh,
possibly.
my God.
Regular diesel exhaust is bad for you. Marine diesel,
Pretty good.
it's possibly. Yeah, pretty good. A little cleaner. The water tends to sift.
It's the salt.
filter
It's the
air.
salt and the air.
Yeah. Dry cleaning work exposure.
Probably. Probably.
Gasoline.
Definitely.
Gasolina.
Gasolina.
Low frequency magnetic fields.
Definitely.
Pickled vegetables. So
What?
think about it when you put your kimchi on your dish.
How is... I don't get
And
that.
Ritalin.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I've never
that's-
taken
that's-
Ritalin, so.
Possibly, yeah, carcinogen. So that's where aspartame falls. In between Ritalin and aloe vera extract. And then the fourth one is not classifiable as to their carcinogenicity to humans, meaning they have no classification for this. So this category is used most commonly when the evidence of carcinogenicity in humans is inadequate and the evidence of carcinogenicity in experimental animals is limited. So if they've looked at it and they really don't have enough research or anything on there, they just dump it right into group 4. Well, group 4, which is technically group 3, because group 2 and 3 are just 2A and 2B, which is the way the IARC breaks it up. So some of the things that would be group 4 when they did their studies was drinking coffee, fluorescent lighting, electric fields, low level, chlorinated water, tea, sulfites, and wine and stuff like that. That's the way they break up carcinogens. So the NTP has 2, the IARC has 4, or 1, 2A, 2B, and 3. So obviously you can see that this is kind of odd, right? When I looked between the NTP and the IARC's list, group 1 for both kind of matched up, like group 1 and 2A kind of matched up. But then after that, it just was like, the IRC just had so much more. I don't know why. Maybe they just study more things every year or something. So this classification system, it's been ridiculed for being confusing to the general public and even to some scientists. That's because the IARC doesn't classify things based on magnitude of the risk or danger. Doesn't classify things by the magnitude of the risk or danger they pose, but instead according to the strength of the overall research. So if there's tons of research on something, then they will be able to come out and say, this is more carcinogen. That's why when you were saying marine diesel is less than regular diesel, it's not that it's less. It's just they have more evidence or more research on one or the other. So does this grouping even make sense as far as the magnitude of carcinogens at all? I don't think so.
I mean, I'm more concerned about why isn't there more research surrounding this?
Money.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why are we not funding more research to just say for sure, hey, listen, gasoline, if you bathe in it, will cause you fucking cancer and you'll die a horrible, horrible death.
You're going to go after one of the, if not the biggest industry in the world? Gasoline?
I think we should go after every industry. I'm very anti-capitalist, so I am a communist, and therefore
we're done.
maybe
we'll get our Chinese people back.
Hey, we got them back.
hey,
this guy's communist.
ni hao,
This guy.
and we lost him again.
We'll get him back.
All of this stuff is funding and that's basically what research is, you know?
Yeah, but I just think like there's a lot of important stuff out there, and
But that's the
to
thing.
say, oh, listen, this is possibly, was it possibly right? This is not
Possibly.
yeah,
It
possibly.
falls in possible.
I at no point do I think that constant exposure to gasoline. At no point should anyone think constant exposure to gasoline is healthy for you, and then therefore we should get some proof to fucking back these things up.
Yeah, and that's where it kind of, I didn't really, immediately when you think it, you see these groups and they color code them. Like if you look at the IARC, they call it the IARC monographs hazard classification, right? So the IARC monographs program is basically the program in which they classify carcinogens, and they classify them in 4 groups: 1, 2A, 2B, and 3. When they label them, they even color code them as if it looks like it's worse for you, but it's just evidence based. It's not necessarily that the item is worse for you. So like group 1 is red, group 2 is orange, group 2B is yellow. You know,
Group
like
1 is, they said, will cause cancer.
will cause cancer
So that's-
based off the research. You don't think
Right.
if you're drinking diesel fuel every day, you might get some cancer? Marine.
That's what
It's
I'm
like,
saying.
hey man, it's not regular diesel. It's marine diesel.
Well,
Got it.
That's what I'm saying, though. I mean, there should be. I mean, I have, to be honest, I have no problem with it being evidence based, because you're going to make conclusions off of evidence. You're not just going to say, you're not going to take anecdotes from people saying, hey, this is dangerous, this is not dangerous. Now, that being said, why, we should have everything backed by evidence. I mean, we should have these should be clearly, experiments should have been clearly made.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, a lot of that stuff is grant funded, man. If you don't have the grants, you're not gonna go into that type of research. Plain and simple.
That's a possible lawsuit later on. Someone's going to just douse themselves with gasoline all the time, and they're going to be like, well, I'm dying now. ExxonMobil is going to be like, that wasn't our shit. It's probably not causing cancer. It's only possible that it's actually causing cancer. Now this guy's going to die and nothing came from it. Like,
So there's and that's where these questions come up, because the whole idea is that this is not intuitive. So what the IARC does, and they did put a bunch of Q&As out there, and I went through them, and they yeah, they put a bunch of, you can't trust them. They put a bunch of Q&As out there, and they try to explain themselves. And so there's this idea that they put out there. They say the difference between risk and hazard. So what they're saying is there's a distinction between hazard and risk, and that's important. So what they're saying is that an agent is considered a cancer hazard if it is capable of causing cancer. So all they're saying is that these are hazards. But the idea of risk is the probability that cancer will occur based off the exposure. So if aloe vera extract and marine gasoline are the same type of hazard, it can totally be different, even though they're in the same group, based off risk. So if you lather yourself in aloe vera extract, it's going to be different than as if you were to lather yourself down in marine diesel.
mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And that's what they were trying to say is, don't let the groupings equal out. So there's hazard and risk. Each one has its hazard, but each one also has its risk. And just because they're in the same group doesn't mean they have the same risk based off of the same exposure. Which, when I was going through some of the research, it was really, really interesting what the American Cancer Research Society was even saying. So this is from the American Cancer Research Society. Carcinogens do not cause cancer at all times, under all circumstances. In other words, a carcinogen does not always cause cancer in every person. Every time there is any kind of exposure, some carcinogen may be cancerous to certain people if exposed in a certain way. So some may only cause cancer in people who have certain genetic makeup. Some of these agents may lead to cancer after only a small exposure, while others might require intense exposure over many years. So they're basically saying that it's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot. So even if a substance or exposure is known or suspected to cause cancer, this does not necessarily mean that it should be avoided at all costs, right? Because remember what group 1 was in both the NTP and the IRAC is UV light. So their example on the American Cancer Research Society, they said, so we're not saying that because it's UV light is a group 1 that you should avoid it at all costs. Like, you can't completely avoid the sun, and it's actually probably bad for you if you do. How do we actually use this information?
Yeah, but then you can say the exact same thing for smoking cigarettes. You can say the exact same thing.
There's people that live till 99, smoke cigarettes every day.
25-year-olds that get it.
They don't have cancer.
And yes, there is a genetic component, and yes, there is the amount of that you smoke, but no scientist is going to tell you. Well, scratch that. A small amount of scientists might tell you, hey, it doesn't cause cancer. But everybody else already knows because the research is there. The facts are there. So for the American Cancer Society to say something like that, I guess. Okay.
Like you said before, though, listen, you can walk down, what was one of the...
Asbestos.
What was one of the things
Asbestos.
in red? Asbestos.
Arsenic.
I could be exposed to asbestos once and nothing happens to me. I can be exposed to it every day for a month and it's more probable for me to get cancer from it. It's all exposure.
And they were saying also how...
If it's red, you shouldn't be exposed to it. Not at all, but you shouldn't be exposed to it at all, but you should try to limit your exposure to things or take proper protection when exposed.
And they're also saying the way you're exposed to it. So like touching it as opposed to breathing it in. You know, if you brush your arm against something that has asbestos in it, you'll probably be okay. But if you walk into a room that was just recently disturbed asbestos, that would be totally different because those particulates will make their way into your lungs.
Most houses in the New York area have asbestos in it. Most old buildings, all of old buildings do. A lot of houses still have fucking lead paint. I might have lead paint in my house.
I love my grandfather's old lead mug that he gave me, and I drink out of it every morning.
Usually with his grandfather, who had passed away. Still with him. He sees him every morning.
That's 115.
Says, hey, good morning.
So not everyone can get it based off the exposure, based off the hazard, based off the risk. And then another thing they brought up, this is all from the American Cancer Society. These lists also may include some commonly used medicines, particularly some hormones and drugs used to treat cancer. So for example, and they use this example, tamoxifen increases the risk of certain kinds of uterine cancer, but it can be very useful in treating some breast cancers. So we're using one carcinogen to treat a cancer of another one, knowing that its side effects cause cancer in another part of your tissue.
That's a common strategy. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So we have cancers fighting each other's cancers.
Definitely.
It's if someone has cancer, you give them another cancer and then have them battle it out.
So you're just a cancer
I'm not a doctor.
That is not scientifically
I'm pretty sure
proven.
that's how it works.
Disclaimer.
That's just going to be like another movie. This man has cancer. What do? We give him another his cancer. Give him another cancer and let them fight for it.
Starring Tom Cruise,
Jet Li, and Tom Cruise, and
Jackie Chan.
And Dwayne The Rock Johnson shows up.
Yeah, he's just got to make a cameo and
I will be the one.
So that's what we're looking at here. So there's this idea of companies or whatever, these organizations like the IARC and the NTP. They're the ones who are out here and they're telling us, or they're trying to let us know, the public know of the hazards. Now the risks and exposure and all that stuff doesn't actually come from them. So we'll go back to the idea of aspartame. Last week, WHO actually made their statement on aspartame, the World Health Organization, and they said, quote unquote, assessments of the health impacts of the non-sugar sweetener aspartame are released today by the International Agency and the World Health Organization and another joint expert committee on food additives, citing limited evidence for carcinogenicity in the IRSC, and they're labeling it as a 2B. The committee therefore reaffirmed that it is safe for a person to consume within the limits per day. For example, a can of diet soft drink containing 200 to 300 milligrams of aspartame, and an adult weighing 70 kilograms, which an adult weighing 7 kilograms I think is like 130, 140 pounds, would need to consume about 9 to 14 cans per day to exceed the acceptable daily intake, assuming no other intake from other food sources. No other
assuming
food sources.
the individual doesn't eat anything else.
But that's the thing. When you read 9 to 14 cans about something, it sounds crazy. You're like, who the hell is going to drink 9 to 14 cans? But when you look at it, at all the stuff that aspartame is in, if you have your yogurt in the morning, aspartame, then you throw some gum in your mouth, aspartame, then you have some Diet Coke for lunch, aspartame, then you have a snack, aspartame. I mean, you're consuming a pretty high amount of aspartame all day. And that's assuming you're trying to live a quote-unquote healthy lifestyle and you're buying all these diet items because you don't want to take the calories in.
You don't want the sugar, yeah. You don't want the
calories.
calories.
it's kind of odd, like, and they say that assuming no other intake from other food sources, but you know how that works here.
I'm gonna have a Diet Coke after this.
I just had one. Delicious, delicious. Actually, I think they said Pepsi removed it from their stuff. Aspartame from their stuff.
They probably just added something else.
Real sugar. I'll take the real sugar.
So for us, basically, the FDA is one of the ones that goes in there and gives us the how much we can have of an item, right? So that's where these two committees and things intertwine. One gives you the hazard, the other one studies it and says, okay, based off this hazard, we would say this would be the ADI, or the daily intake of this item, and then and that's the way we're going to do it. So the WHO says aspartame is possibly carcinogenic, but it's still safe as long as you don't drink a lot of it, right? And what does the FDA say? They say basically the same thing. No more than we actually have a higher tolerance for it. So instead of 40 milligrams, we do 50 milligrams a day. But yeah, they're saying about the same thing. Anywhere from 9 to 12 cans a day. Stay away from aspartame. Just getting on a side topic. So we know aspartame is a carcinogen. We understand now how carcinogens are broken up and how they're rated. So next time when we read about something like, burnt toast or a steak as a carcinogen, we kind of know what that actually means, right? It's based off it's the magnitude of evidence based off of not hazard. But when I did kind of look at some artificial sweeteners, they're not necessarily cancer causing, but they are bad in different ways. So I think there was like a recent article that came out by North Carolina State University where they labeled sucralose a genotoxin, right? And they basically said that it can harm your DNA. And some evidence I was reading online was that sweeteners can change the bacteria in your gut and basically screw up your microbiota, and that can jack up your stomach and cause ulcers and leaky gut syndrome. And then also it'll change the way your body increases insulin levels, so that a lot of people have now been starting to get glucose intolerances, and that is basically some sort of key markers for diabetes. Yeah, I mean, it might not cause cancer, but is it healthy for you? If we're drinking diet drinks, I think the idea is that we want to be healthy. So I don't know if it's necessarily healthy for us anyway. I think just going with the regular sugar in that case and dealing with the calories and maybe cutting it somewhere else. But I know I'm going to be looking at that more because after that, what are you doing? I don't know.
Everything in moderation, man. Everything in moderation. Ultimately.
Yeah.
Remember years and years ago when we had that fat epidemic where all those high school kids and the kids before that were oh, these are super fat. I think this was on.
Yeah,
I think
don't
it's
we
still
have that
happening,
stuff?
isn't
Yeah.
it?
You still have that?
Yeah, there's still
Yeah,
obesity
obesity
rates.
is huge.
Child obesity is still
Really?
a
Remember all
problem.
those kids on Maury? Used to bring them in on Maury and
Oh yeah.
just fat shame these kids for like 15 minutes, and then just like make the parents feel terrible. Then they'd put the kid in like, remember that? Like they'd put the kid in like a diaper with no shirt on.
Seriously?
Yeah, you never remember that? And they're like, look at
No.
this kid. He's 3 years old, 400 pounds. And then they just show him like they have. Then they just go to a video clip and the kid's just like eating like tons of cookies and cream ice cream, and then has a temper tantrum when they pull it away from him. That was television. That was 90s television, man. That was when the fries were good.
So, data from the National Survey of Children's Health show that in 2020 to 2021, 17% of youths ages 10 to 17 had obesity.
Oh, wow. It's also like where you go too. You know, if you're moving around a lot.
Yeah, that's another.
Yeah, you're in the city. You're walking around a lot, and you really can't be that.
Physical activity, but it's also, I mean, that counts as people's jobs. A lot of jobs are just sitting down all day.
Oh, I gained so much weight my first job out of college.
Yeah, I mean, you're just sitting down for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
I never realized how much that made a difference. Because like you're in college, right? So you're going to the gym, you're playing basketball, you're going to different classes, and of course they're always on the other side of the fucking campus. So you're constantly walking around just being active. Then you come out of school and you get that first desk job and your ass doesn't move for 8 hours. You're stressed out of your fucking mind. You're eating like you were still in college.
Happy hours.
Yeah, and you're going to happy hours, you're drinking, you're doing all this stuff because now you finally got, you're making $40,000 a year, you're killing it. And, right, and then you go to the gym for 45 minutes and you're like, I'm great. And then fucking...
I still get shit for that now. Like, I'll be standing at work and people are like, what are you doing? Sit down.
Yeah, relax, bro. Where are you going?
It's like, I've been sitting for 8 plus hours already. Like, why are you telling me to sit down? Am I making you nervous? What the fuck?
I mean, honestly, if you were standing, you'd make me nervous. I'd be like, sit down.
Me too.
Oh,
yeah,
maybe
me
it's
too.
because I'm standing like right behind them.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, sit down.
Yeah, and you have a
Breathing on their
jacket
neck.
on. That's like, what are you doing?
Jacket on.
It's
I'm
like
cold
90
too.
degrees out.
Is that a problem?
Cold too.
I look at pictures from back in the day when I first started working out after college. Woo. I was chunky.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, I used to look like that. Ugh. Not good. I remember at my heaviest, I would eat lunch and I would start to sweat. And I would be like, I gotta work out.
Oh my God. You ever look at pictures of yourself like back in the day? You're like, dude, what was I doing?
And the
Like,
crazy thing is, back in the day, you're like,
good.
but back in the day, you thought you did. You're like,
Oh,
I'm
you thought
killing
you
it.
were. Yeah. I'm in the prime. I'm an apex of my life.
Having fucking meat sweats.
38 waist. Killing it. Yeah, bro. I can bench 200.
That was
That's
a
all that
standard.
mattered.
That was a standard.
Yeah, you need to hit at least 245.
It was just upper body.
Yeah.
All you need to do is
Never
upper
do
body.
legs.
No cardio.
Never do legs.
No
or
cardio.
core. Or core at all.
No cardio, no core, just upper body.
Listen, you do core twice a week, no more than 10 minutes, and you were set.
And by core,
Yeah.
meaning,
Abs are made in the gym. I mean, abs are made in the kitchen. Remember, abs are made in the kitchen. As you like take down like 16 natty ices that weekend and like a packet of bacon. Abs are made in the
you
kitchen.
go to happy hour, just get like a whole bunch of abs just for you. You guys want some of this? It's good stuff.
I'm in a bulking phase
Yes.
for like 3 years. And then you do like a 3-week cut, like right before summer.
But then psychologically, you're like, oh, I'm so small. I gotta get back.
Yeah, I gotta get back in there. Yeah, I gotta get back in there. I gotta start bulking again. Nah, that's how it goes, man.
So that's crazy that steroids could be considered carcinogens. I know a lot of bodybuilders recently have been dying.
Yeah, have you seen that?
I've seen it, and the thing is, like, you're never gonna really get the information, but they take so many drugs that a whole host of things could be happening. But yeah,
It's not healthy.
it's not healthy. No, it's not. Definitely not. And they tell you, they know. Everyone tells you. Anyone who was into bodybuilding as a lifestyle and tries to do it to make money, everybody's juicing. But that's just the way of the game.
But you know what's amazing, and I never realized how expensive that is.
Probably.
It's incredibly expensive. I remember there was like this one show I was watching. They had this guy. He was just jacked out of his mind, and he has like $1,000, $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month, like habit, and then he just keeps the empty bottles, and you open it up, you're like, oh my god, dude, like that's a ton of money just to look this big. And it like destroys your hormones because now you can't, like, your body can't even regulate itself.
A lot of those bodybuilders can't have kids. And then they have to go on specific drugs just to try to boost their testosterone levels just to have kids.
There's some guys at work that do like steroids and stuff, and they tell me that they like manipulate.
Put me on.
Yeah, I'll put you on.
All right, cool.
They're good dude. I mean, I would, yeah, I wouldn't even take a movie recommendation from them, let alone what they're gonna do for their steroids. But they were saying that they manipulate their hormones so that when they go to these like doctors, then they test them that their hormones are like super low, and then they can get the insurance to pay for it.
I have not heard that.
Yeah, because like I guess their insurance will pay for like some of the shots, so they'll like tank their hormones. They'll do some sort of cycle, and it'll tank their hormones. Then when they go in, they get it. They're like, the guy's like, yeah, you're practically like a woman. And then you come in every week and get your up dose.
I imagine. You know what, too? It's crazy because a lot of doctors don't really have experience with people actually on juice. So you have to have, doctors with that kind of experience. So if they're probably true. If you take a dose or cycle that lowers your testosterone levels and you go in to get yourself checked and you're like, these levels are extremely low. We need to get, because testosterone is super important for male. So yeah,
So are they lying? So are they lying to their doctors about not taking steroids, or they're just looking for?
No, they're going to these clinics like Ageless Male and yada yada yada, and
these clinics cater to people.
Yes.
Nugenics, is that where they're going?
Nugenics,
Frank Thomas,
isotropics,
and she'll love it too. I
don't know what any of those are, but I mean, they look great. I gotta tell you, these guys look great. I'm a little jealous.
Yeah, word.
I'm a little jealous. Whatever, man. There's a difference between looking good. There's a difference between thinking something's healthy and it actually being healthy. I think that's where a lot of this is coming from.
So on those, a lot of that stuff was man-made, or was there?
No, sawdust.
Oh, that's true.
So this is the way they do it. So what types of agents or substances are evaluated? IARC Monographs program. They evaluate chemicals, so like formaldehyde, complex mixtures, air pollution, occupational exposures, physical agents such as like solar radiation, biological agents, pharmaceuticals, and other important factors. So they take into account all of those things. So it's not just man-made things. It's chemicals, it's occupational exposures, it's like anything. Air pollution, anything. When I was going in to try to figure out who is recommending these to the IARC, and they basically just say that it's a advisory group, right? So how does the IARC, this is from their website, choose which agents to evaluate, they say it's basis on recommendations from an independent advisory group of international experts. That's all they say. And the IARC monographs program evaluates agents that are suspected to cause cancer. Agents are recommended for evaluation when there is evidence that people may be exposed or there is scientific evidence available to evaluate carcinogenicity. So in the example of aspartame, the reason why they brought it back up was because that there was some extra evidence that had come up that people had been starting to get cancer. So they brought it back because they had tested it again. They had tested it prior to that. And this is from the NIH's website. They said the advisory group recommends a wide variety of agents or substances for a new or updated evaluation for the program. And then they go ahead, they do all the research, and then they meet with the IARC. Then they go into the details of their work and all the stuff, and then they make the recommendations. I can't find anything on this advisory group. The only thing I can find is that it's comprised of 29 scientists from 18 countries, and they've reviewed over 170 agents, and that's it.
You know, it's funny too. I'm assuming that those scientists actually didn't do the research. They probably read other research from other scientists, and then they did like a literary review of that research, and then they probably passed on their recommendation to the board.
So no one's doing any research. Everyone's just piggybacking.
They're doing the research. The thing is, like, it's a lot of shit. You know what I'm saying? And you're not going to be. You need the funding to do all this stuff, and you need the manpower.
Caesar, let me ask you. It's just, I guess, in general, if you can answer generally, when it comes to research like this, though, like, how long do you need to run an experiment, something like this? Like, is it like a 30-year thing? Because like some exposures, like, how can you tell the long-term effects of something like this?
You are going to need a certain time frame, right?
Right.
Aspartame was discovered around the 60s, right? So that's what, 50-something years? So realistically, in order for you to do a valid study, you're going to need to find 58-year-olds all with the same sort of exposure to aspartame without being exposed to anything else. How hard do you think that is? Across the world.
It's impossible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times they're just taking small sample sizes and trying to extrapolate that to the bigger public. And you do need a lot of these experiments, especially with human testing, you need IRB, so Internationally Review Board, or whatever the I stands for, but a review board that gives you
igneous rock formation.
I don't think so.
Igloo?
I also don't think. No, I don't think so.
Igloo Review Board?
Icelandic.
Probably the Icelandic Review Board. So
I would listen to any review board that was from Iceland, though. I just feel like they would tell me the truth.
So you need the approval to do human experiments, but you need a certain time frame for a lot of these experiments.
Yeah, so I like what you were saying there, and I did pull up some of these. Some of the two studies that reignited the IARC's review, and it was one by that French company. But yeah, this was a large observation study involving over 100,000 people, and it found that people who consumed higher amounts of aspartame were slightly more likely to develop breast cancer, obesity-related cancers, and overall cancer compared to people who did not consume.
See, and also you can jump into that study and you can find a whole host of deficiencies just because, like, it's the nature of doing research, you know?
Yeah, and they say that, and the NTP says that aspartame is on the IARC's list, like we talked about. They're two independent agencies, but it's not on the NTP's list.
A lot of the times, I look at these agencies and I say, okay, fine, they're there and they're there to try to protect or try to inform the public. I'm not looking for reasons not to believe them. So when they come out as, aspartame, but a lot of the times it's also like common sense, right? If you shouldn't be drinking sodas every day. It's just,
yeah, you shouldn't be out there tanning every day. You shouldn't be rubbing your body in formaldehyde every day. You know, just a little bit.
So, but it's tough, man. That's tough.
Yeah, but I mean, not even every day. I mean, some people, it could be once. I mean, there's a genetic component to it. That I don't know if we figure that out. Wasn't there like a human genome mapping thing happening?
There was. We mapped it, but still. There was a study.
It's mapped?
It's mapped, yeah.
Is it like a Google map? Can I just like look it up and be like, oh, this is the human genome?
You might be able to. I'm not sure. I think so. There was a study I think I read once where like he must have been like maybe 20 or it started smoking in high school, and at 20 he had lung cancer.
Oh, I know. Most kids I know that we went to high school with, they started when they were like 13, 12, 14.
Damn, really?
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of kids I know that when I was talking to, that's when
But
they started.
for that person to have that right, like that close he just started a couple of years ago. And there's people that like smoke 2 packs a day for 40, 50 years and got nothing. Because a lot of the times too, these carcinogens, okay, let's say, let's continue with smoking. Okay, fine. It doesn't cause lung cancer. But guess what? That doesn't mean it's not going to cause another issue. Right. And I'm assuming a lot of these carcinogens are the same thing. Yes, they might not lead directly to something, but I'm assuming you're going to have issues down the line. You guys want to hear a crazy stat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this has always blown my mind, right? Because cancer is one of those things, like the body is so complex. I'm surprised more people don't have cancers because it's so complex and everything needs to go right. And it's the body's a machine, right? And at a certain point, the machine's going to break down, but our bodies are so great that it doesn't. But the likelihood of you being you, same characteristics, your parents meeting at the same time, hooking up at the same time, all of it is 1 in 400 trillion. That's the likelihood of you being you. That's the likelihood of us talking, like me being Caesar, you being Victor, you being Rob. 1 in 400 trillion.
What's the likelihood of me hitting Powerball?
1 in 365 million.
So if I did it once, I could do it again.
Yes.
Remember, even if you're a loser in life, you won once because you're here.
Exactly. Yes. Did we get carcinogens from this podcast?
Yeah.
I definitely got it from this
The low
mic.
radiation.
From this screen that's looking at me right now?
Low radiation.
Yeah.
The blue lights.
Are we
You gotta
going to
get
die?
Blue light filters. Did you get blue light filters on your glasses?
No.
Get them.
Are we being punked right now?
What'd you guys take away from this? You believe this? You believe this possibly? Or you got a different outlook on carcinogens?
Bro, it's fake news, man. It's all fake.
It's phony stuff.
The who, the what, the why, and the where. It's all bullshit, man. It's all bullshit. No, it's cool. Like I actually never really knew about the classification. And I did not know they based it on the amount of research that was out there on this specific compound or topic. So, yeah, I learned that. That's pretty cool.
Victor?
First things first, you can't trust the WHO because they're run by the Chinese. But
China.
putting that aside, I think, their lists are valid. I think. And again, interpretation, though, is key. You should limit your exposure to everything.
Not this podcast, though.
Not this podcast.
Take it all
though.
in.
This podcast was not on the carcinogen list.
Never will be.
Nope.
And never will be. It heals. Heals what? I can't tell you, but it heals. For $1 a day.
Less than a cup of coffee. All right, perfect.
But I love sugar, and I don't like anything that says no added sugar. I think tastes like shit. So I don't go for the artificial sweeteners.
Yeah, good man. Yeah, I dropped all that. I do the real sugar now. All right, so you heard it here. Limit your exposure to everything except this podcast. So thank you for tuning in to the I'm Not Dumb But podcast. I hope you enjoyed the episode. We would appreciate if you could share, leave a comment, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen. Stay tuned for more engaging discussions and entertaining content in our upcoming episodes. See you next time.
Later.